Right, the next stage is looking at manufacture. So potentially you're going to want to just prototype this really, really quickly. So it could be made out of cardboard, it could be made out of little bits of MDF or plywood or acrylic, whatever you've got lying around, and then the standardized components such as those tubes. Maybe you're going to 3D print parts, maybe you're going to kind of just bolt them together really quickly. So we're going to look at that now and how you can basically take these designs and kind of show how you might do that to either your clients or to the people that you're presenting to, or even to yourself to help you to think about the next stages of your process. So we're going to start with this little section over here. And what we've got is we've got our cylindrical tubing. Just going to do this really quickly. So there's our cylindrical tubing, and then maybe it needs to sit into something. Okay, so if we imagine this part here, let's put another large circle around the outside. You remember last time we kind of had that section. In fact, I'm going to imagine this comes down. We've got another circle below it, except this circle is going to be actually at an angle like this. It will make sense in a second. And we can imagine that this is coming around like so, because that would then fit our product that we had. That one had a vertical face at the back, which is slightly different. Okay, so that is not a mistake. That's supposed to be sticking out at this angle because it's kind of slanted rather than being vertical. Okay, so what this could then be is this could be, what am I drawing around there? That is pointless. What we want to be drawing around is this circle on the inside here. Like so, and then maybe this is going to slot in, so you could potentially show this as like a really tight friction fit, and then below, if we think about down here, we've also got a circle below it. You're probably going to just see a little bit of that. It's going to help the eye to understand what's going on, so this can slot down into it. Okay, and this could be a 3D printed part, and maybe what you're going to have is you're going to have a pump in there. So if you're thinking about the water dispenser, it needs to pump the water out. So from a side view, what you could show, we've got that slanted angle, comes back here. We've got the bit where our cylinder sits in, and then below it, maybe you've got, I don't know, the hole for our water pump, and then you've got some tubing that runs out and kind of goes through maybe a hole here. Okay, so this allows you to then kind of just showcase how everything starts to together. So tubing slots in to this recess, pumping the water out and through into the rest of the container. Now we need to talk about what this is. So maybe this material here is acrylic, like acrylic tubing, and maybe this part down here has been, if you're quickly prototyping it, you're 3D printing, maybe this section could be out of something like PLA, ABS. They'd need to be sealed, otherwise the water will eventually seep through. They are permeable materials, but quick sealant should be absolutely fine for that. And very quickly you can start to see, you can design this part that will then fit into the main section. Maybe you want to think about your joining methods over here, but we'll talk about that shortly. So the other part of it, we've kind of looked at this section here, is this bit over here. And now maybe this is where we start to think about in terms of what's more realistic, what's going to be a bit easier. This curve for the joining methods I'm going to talk about in a second might be quite hard. So the main section, if we look at it, what we've got is we've kind of got, I'm actually going to draw it as panels. Okay, so imagine that as our side panel. We're then going to have, say, a front panel. there, like so. Can't see any of those parts, which is good. And then maybe we've got our top panel. Okay, so up here. I know my drawing's slightly off, but imagine these are all of the same thickness, okay? So you can start to think about how you're going to kind of prototype this and put it together. And these maybe are going to be 3mm, acrylic, potentially. And how could we join those together? Well, we could maybe add some finger joints. You could then laser cut them, acrylic cement them together, and you'll have a nice kind of firm solution as a quick understanding of the shape and the form. So you'd add some finger joints. So if I was to think about a plan kind of view, this isn't going to fit on the page, so I'm going to kind of like scale it down slightly, but you can imagine that this part here, and then on the side we've got, so that is that piece, that is that piece, and that is that piece. And you could add, maybe on our top section, we've got 2 finger joints there, and this one's going to have a cutout, and this one's going to have a cutout here. On the side, we're just going to have one that sticks out, maybe like so, and then this one's cut away. And then on this side here, just for ease, let's have one that kind of like sticks out in this top section, and then maybe lower down you'd have some more, okay? But you can kind of get what see what I'm getting at. And then the back is probably going to be, I don't know, something similar as well for the back panel, like so. We haven't actually shown that. Again, maybe the same for the base. Just like so. Okay, and what this allows you to start doing is to understand how you are going to actually make your product, because things don't just fit together for fun. They've actually got to think about how they're going to work. So the hardest part now is going to be connecting our kind of container with the tubing and maybe electronics in here to this other section. And this is where you might want to think about how you 3D print kind of a curved part. So maybe there's an attachment here that you snap together that has a curved section to go around the tube, or maybe it just sits loose like this, and this kind of like sticks out a little bit. Okay, but this is just a very quick and basic overview of how you start thinking about the actual manufacture of your parts. Hope that helps. Have a little play around, choose loads of different designs and see how you can manufacture them. Think about how things work. So 3D printing is pretty straightforward to do a lot of things. Laser cutting is obviously 2D, so you've got to think about how those fit together. If you can injection mold it, you've got to think about the draft angles. You've got to thinking about the setup for the mold, which probably isn't going to be sensible for a small batch production or just prototyping. And then maybe you've got things like casting, if you want to do some, I don't know, some resin casting or some polyurethane kind of layups to get a better idea of how things fit together, or kind of housing on the inside. That is another option. So materials and processes, very important. Yeah, have a little go.